Welcome to Elevating Your Life, where each episode is dedicated to sharing valuable information, useful techniques, and empowering inspiration so that you can experience personal and physical abundance. Success and happiness are within your reach. I am your go-to gal who will help you find your happiness triggers and a true elevated life. I am your host, Paula Vail. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevating Your Life with Paula Vail. I am honored to have you joining us today. I am thrilled and excited to share with you an amazing guest. He is absolutely fantastic. Who we have with us today is James Miller. He is the executive producer and host of the nationally broadcasted and syndicated radio show, James Miller Lifeology. James is a licensed psychotherapist and piano composer who has been in the mental health field for over 20 years. After 14 years in private practice, James left his successful practice in Washington, D.C. area and created James Miller Lifeology, where he globally helps people simplify and transform their spirit, mind, and body. James, you are amazing. Your shows are amazing.
Thank you so much, Paul. I'm so honored to be your first guest on your show, so thank you. This is a wonderful honor for me.
Thank you so much. My first guest on my new Elevating Your Life show. I love it. I'm so grateful.
And you were a guest on my show. So if your listeners want to go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, they can hear your show, Why Am I So Happy, which you talked about your phenomenal book. And obviously that is with you, Paula Vail. So feel free to go to my site and listen to her phenomenal interview. You did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you, James. Thank you.
Welcome.
Isn't it wonderful to just connect and learn so much from each other and,
It really is.
Become friends in sharing so many amazing guests with our audiences. It really is a pleasure. Well, I would love you to begin with just a touch of your background and really what led you to your passion and of what you're doing now, all this magnificent.
Well, thank you. Well, as you said, I was I had a private practice for 14 years in the Washington, D.C. area, and I loved it. I was very successful, had a wonderful time. But over a period of time, when I took a look at my life, I was like, okay, I'm successful here, but what about, I hadn't composed in a long time. Like, what about my compositions? I used to do that. That was the way I lived. That was my creative aspect of my life. And I looked at all these other areas and I was like, I'm not feeling overall successful because like I said, there's a lot of mediocrity in my life at that time. So what I did is I took probably about 2 years and I said, well, what is it that I want to do? And so I thought, well, I talk for a living. It's one thing. And when I was younger, I was actually in the entertainment industry. I did a lot of commercials, a lot of TV, did movies, all that as well. And so the biggest thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be location independent. I wanted to do whatever it is I was going to do, but not be tied down to an office. I wanted to be almost virtual. So I really thought about it and I looked at all the different aspects of it. And one of my friends said, James, why don't you come down to Palm Beach and check it out? And I thought, well, okay, why not? So I came down here and absolutely loved it, fell in love with it, moved down here shortly after in 2015. And so I've been here for some years now, but it's been a wonderful time. When I started Lifeology, I didn't really know the direction it was going to go. I knew, like I said, I wanted to teach things because I started writing a book. And just like you have completed your book and I got off track. I was writing all these things and I was told that it was way too academic. And I thought, oh, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? So I thought, well, why don't I take what was in my book and let me turn it into YouTube clips? And so that's what I started. I started on YouTube. And so I had done, I think for 6 months, I had done a show every single day. But as that kind of rolled out, I realized I'm doing this, but I'm honing my craft again. I'm trying to get in front of the camera again to really practice, to really understand what it's like when I was younger. How can I do that again? And so as that happened, then I started to realize, when I was younger, I always wanted to have a TV show. And so with that, I thought, okay, well, let me continue to practice being on camera. So I did that, and then I went to a podcast, and then it evolved to a nationally broadcasted and syndicated radio show. And I'm so blessed is because this past week, I found that my TV show has been funded, and once in the next few weeks, we're going to go into production for that, and then you'll be able to see me on national television as well. So that's kind of been the journey for me, and it's been such a wonderful, humbling time for me.
That is so exciting. I love that. You are going to have your TV show, and I'm so excited to have you announce that on your show.
Thank you.
It makes me remember something. You know, when I was in high school, I loved my English class, and I remember saying to myself, someday I want to write a book.
Yeah.
And here I am.
Yeah, I know, right? That's amazing.
I have my first book.
Yeah. But you know what's so interesting? The fact that you say that, I'm sure there's so many of your listeners right now or viewers watching this are saying, you know, actually, I've had a dream before, but I never finished it. And I think it's so important because just because you've had a dream or a goal from years ago doesn't mean you still can't accomplish it. And I think so many times people forget about that. And that kind of goes back into what I was saying about the mediocrity. When we settle in our life, you know, I felt like I'd settled for a long time. All of a sudden, the goals we have, we lose momentum, and pretty soon we just get stuck in a rut. And then after a while, we just kind of settle. And it's sad and unfortunate because we all do it. But the good thing is, and the goal is that if you had a dream before, the dream is still there and it can still be accomplished.
Oh, that's a powerful statement, James. It is. It is. So, you know, how fun to think about what were some of those early dreams of mine?
Yeah.
Where did I let them go? Do I want them back? Do I want to do that? And we can do it now, can't we?
You certainly can. You know, one of my, and I haven't actually really shared this with anyone, so this is, I guess you're the first person I'm sharing it with outside of my family. But when I was a little boy, I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, I would close my eyes, and I still have this, and it happens quite a bit. I would go to sleep, and I would see myself in stadiums, and I would speak to this huge all the audience there. And it was something I would always see all the time. And it's, I mean, it could be representative, I guess, of where I'm going now, as I'll be speaking to millions, but I do always have that dream. And so nowadays I wonder, is that dream going to be actualized in a stadium with an audience where I'm speaking to whomever? But it was just something that I would always have that. And so maybe that's even something for your viewers as well, as if you have something, even as a little child, maybe that is still going to come true. Maybe that is a part of your journey. So for me, that was one that like I said, I haven't really shared that before, but that was something that I really continually see in my life as it rolls out, that my audience keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And once again, I say that with complete humility. I'm very, very honored and very humbled that I do have a listenership or viewership, but it has been a journey for all of us. You know, sometimes people see us at the end, they're like, oh, this person is, they haven't made, but they don't know the struggle of how to get, or how that person got there. You know, they don't know the tears, all the late night worries. But after time, once you push through that, you'll see that you do get on the other side, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And pretty soon that light gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And pretty soon you're living your goal and your dream.
Yes, I love that. Isn't it true, James, how life really, it is a flow. I see it as like a river, you know, a river of manifestation and flow. But that doesn't mean it's easy. We hit waves, we hit storms, but we can, you know, accomplish our dreams, and we can accomplish things, can come to us in manifestations that we hadn't even dreamed, that are even greater.
Exactly. And, you know, I think even though we've all experienced the perfect storm in our life, something has blindsided us and hit us, and we're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But, you know, I think one thing that people forget about is the situation may be overwhelming, but you felt those feelings before. For example, you felt grief, you felt despair, you felt lost before, you felt terror, whatever those feelings may be, you felt those before. And so when you can stop and say, wait a minute, okay, the situation may be different, but the feelings are the same. So if I felt that before, what did I do to get over it? How did I push myself through that before? And so when you use your past data, your past knowledge of what you've done that can help you, then you implement that. And conversely, you can ask the question, what did I do that didn't help me? Because when you realize that you've done things in the past that don't help, well, you automatically know, okay, I'm not going to redo those because they're not going to help me. So I think we all, if we take that moment to reflect, to say, I've been here before. Maybe not the situation, but the feelings before. And somehow I got over it. And that's a beautiful way to help yourself streamline your recovery, streamline what you're going to do, immediately implement those things, and it helps you get to the other side of whatever that blind side may be.
Oh, James, I love that. I love that. Streaming back to what we've gone through and having that assist us in getting through that struggle. That is fantastic. I love that.
Oh, thanks. And that's really something I like to teach as well on my show is there's so many self-help people out there, you, me, many wonderful people, but we always have our own data within us, our own history, our own lessons that are already there. And so if we don't take that time to reflect, then if we are in the middle of crisis, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, you already know what to do because you've been in this situation before. And so when we stop and reflect on that, I'm sure some things I can think of. I'm like, well, I've been in this position probably 20 times before. So when am I going to learn the lesson for one? But other times when I do stop and think, okay, well, I felt this way this time and this time and this time. Let me really look at what the average is of what I did that was healthy. And now as soon as I do that, now those things don't even really bother me anymore. I immediately understand it, can push right through it. And then what once was a stumbling block now is really a stepping stone because I know how to get over it. And immediately is behind me and I can focus on what I need to focus on now. So once again, I think everyone listening right now can do that same thing and they can be their own therapist, if you will, their own life coach in a lot of ways.
Oh, fantastic. And, no matter where we're at or what age we are as we progress in life, we are always growing. We can always find strength and become even better at what we want to become, can't we? It doesn't stop.
Certainly. And I always, you mentioned life as a river. Well, think about it. A river always has current. So we can either be the one that goes flying down that river with our goals and dreams and being focused, or we can just simply stop. And once again, that's mediocrity and just let life take us along. But what people forget is the current still moves regardless. Your life is moving, whether you realize it or not. So you can either be that person who really launches your goals and really accomplishes your objectives, or you can unfortunately be caught in that mediocrity cycle where you say, yeah, I want to do something, but you don't do it. So what I always have people do is, look at your life 5 years ago. What's the same and what's not the same? If you've been complaining about your job for 5 years, then why are you still in that same job? If you've been saying you want to do something for so long, or want to lose weight, or you want to change a habit and you're still doing it, well, why are you still doing it? And so there's no judgment, of course, but the point is that when you have a goal and you reflect on it, like I said, looking back 5 years from now, what's different and what's the same? And that really helps people say, oh, wait a minute, I guess maybe there is some mediocrity in my life that I didn't realize. And so it's important to always have that self-analysis and self-awareness, because the more often you can do that, you can say, oh, okay, well, there is some mediocrity here and I don't want to be this way anymore. And that is a really good tool to have us kind of reflect on that, to be able to be that person that goes flying down the river as opposed to the person who's just simply floating there, letting life lead them instead of them leading life.
Yes. To take a moment and have some self-analysis. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That could be really huge, because we're taking the time to look at things and look at our past life and have that help us address what we're doing in the future.
Yeah. There's another really practical tool that I use, or that I teach. It's called the graph of fulfillment. And so I wasn't the one who created this, so I don't know who did. So whomever did, if you're watching, this is totally for you. So the graph of fulfillment, what it is you create on the horizontal line, you create as many subject matters of your life as possible. So that could be your health, your nutrition, your spirituality, your relationships, your intimacies, your finances, your, I can't even, whatever the categories are in your life that you can come up with. And then on the vertical side, you have tick marks from 1 to 10. And you take some time and you say, okay, well, let me look at the past 6 months of my life. And so as you do that, you look at perhaps your nutrition. Okay, well, I'm being fulfilled 1 to 10. Okay, I could probably do better. Maybe I'm at a 5 here. My finances, maybe I'm at a 3. My relationships, I'm at an 8. My friendships, I'm maybe at a 5. And so when you go through all of those categories, then that helps you say, okay, well, it literally gives you a snapshot of what is going well in your life and what's not. And that's a really good way to look at mediocrity as well, because if those numbers are really low, let's say you're at a 2 or a 3, well, that's a really good indication that this particular part of your life, maybe you haven't really looked at as much. And so when you can look at that and take some time to say, okay, well, this is where I'm at. I'd like to be a lot higher. So what do I do? And so it allows you to ask the questions, what can I do that's different because what I'm doing now isn't working? And so as you do this, perhaps every 6 months, you can recheck in with yourself and do these same graphs over and over again. You'll see how those widgets are moving. And so that allows you to really allow the majority of your life, or all of your life really, to be much more balanced, much more streamlined, and you're able to eradicate that type of mediocrity.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's really exciting to think about, James.
Because it's really practical. It's truly practical.
Yes. To put that into practice and make those decisions and look at that and then move forward with that. That's not only creative, it's exciting.
Yes, it certainly is. It's very exciting.
Gosh. And that, therefore, is going to bring about more joy and just more happiness with who we are and what we're doing and self-fulfillment, would you think?
Because what it does is you start to change some of these habits of your life, and it feels like a win. The more wins we have in our life, it's encouraging and it's exciting. You're like, wow, I'm really seeing these numbers increase. That is a tangible way to say, yes, I am growing and developing. Or sometimes I think in the self-development world, it becomes too much in our head and we don't really see the manifestations of it or the actions of it. So if I think something and I can think it all I want, but if it's not manifested in my life, or I'm actually not seeing myself do what I said I'm going to do, then unfortunately it's just head knowledge. It's actually not practical ways in which to express those goals that you want to accomplish. So the more often you can be aware of how to streamline your life and the things that are not important, how you can remove them from your life, then you see this is what's important for me. And that is how we define success. For many people, they can define success in a financial way, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you look at this graph that we're talking about, then when you see all those numbers go up, that's a continuum of success. In other words, every area of your life is successful, not just one area. Unfortunately, some people whose no judgment, of course, but some people whose metric of success is through their finances, sometimes they overly commit to that, and perhaps they don't have a good relationship with their family, or they do so much work that it affects their health. And so you really want to look at how do you move the widgets of success around based off of how you define success. Because with your family, that's important. With your finances, it's important. With your spirituality, it's important. With your friendships, all those are important things. So to live a life that shows success based off of removing mediocrity, you'll find that you are incredibly fulfilled in your life.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Do you have any recommendations for someone who may be watching right now saying, yes, okay, I can think of some things I would like to change, some moves I would like to make, but it's difficult for me to do that. That fear and that doubt comes in. Any
Sure.
thoughts on that, James?
Yeah. And for people who are like that, I've been like that in my past as well. So I'm no different than anybody else. But one of the things to consider is anytime we want to do something new, the problem that most people run into is there's not a solid foundation for how to do it. What I always tell people is you want to look at a goal within a year. And this is one reason why a lot of New Year's resolutions typically don't work. So when you want to look at a goal in a year and you want to break it up into 4 quarters, so every 3 months, the first 3 months is really about fitting it into your schedule because we're all so busy. And so let's say if you want to go to the gym, or you want to work on your, you want to work on your diet and exercise, or you want to start a new business. If you are so busy in other areas of your life, if you have not figured out where this new activity or this new concept is going to fit into your schedule, you're already going to feel like, I can't do this. I don't have any time for it. So the first 3 months is just literally moving that around and say, when can I do this? One day it may work this time, and maybe I can do it at the same time every week, or perhaps tomorrow it has to work at a different time. So it's really all about figuring out when can you fit it in your schedule. And then from there, the second quarter is really when the implementation happens, really when you start to create the measurable objectives, which basically means I'm proving that I'm doing this because I have tangible proof. So for example, if you want to lose weight, my goal is to lose 10 pounds by the end of the second quarter. Okay, well, I know that I've accomplished that goal because I've lost 10 pounds. And so you have the different steps that you put in place. That would mean, let's say I walk a half hour a day. I do so many sit-ups per day, or I track my calories per day. Those are the steps you use. So to kind of rewind what I was saying there, the first part of anything that you want to do that's different is you have to figure out, when does it fit in my schedule? It actually takes a total of 66 times for something to become a habit. So one reason, people used to think it was 21 times, but that's really one reason why things just, for many people, don't work. For example, your New Year's resolutions, most people drop out after 3 weeks, and because they think it's 21 times. But the truth of the matter is it's 66 times. So that's why in the first quarter, which is going to be 90 days, it takes 66 times to really figure it out. And then you transition into, and that third month, you transition into doing it. And then the second quarter, you do that as well. So remember, if you haven't done something if you have not done something more than 66 times, it's not going to be a habit. So you really have to be mindful of that, because the more practice and implementation you have, the more successful you'll be, because it becomes an intrinsic change that, yes, this new habit is who I am, not one that I'm going to try and do, because you figured out when you can put it in your schedule, and then you've allowed yourself to then start doing it. And then you'll find that it becomes part of you as opposed to just a thought.
Yes, yes. And then it's just automatic for us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Certainly is. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just do it.
Isn't that amazing? I am so happy you shared that 66 times, because I was at 21 times.
Yeah, most people think that. It's true.
Wow, I love it. Well, James, we have about 5 minutes left in the show. What last thoughts and words do you want to leave with everyone today? What do you want them to walk away with today from this show?
One of the things that I believe is that there's always hope. It doesn't matter where we are in life or what has happened in life. There can be some devastating things that happen, but there's always hope. And so sometimes in the moment, we may not be able to see that glimmer of hope, but remember, you always have options. There's always something you can do. And so the self-responsibility we have is to figure out, okay, what can I do and what can I not do? When you recognize what you can't do, then you have to say, what can I do? There was a really famous psychologist named Viktor Frankl, one of my not my mentors. I would love for him to be a mentor. He was actually in the concentration camps, and his family was all murdered, and all he had left was what was in his mind. Everything was taken from him. The Nazi soldiers would spit on him, would do all these things. But in his mind, he knew, I have the choice to think what I want to think. I can curse these people. I can bless these people. I can do whatever it is I want. But I know that it's within me to figure out what can I control. And so going back to what I was saying is there's always hope. When we can't control our external circumstances, we can control our mind. And what we think about determines what we feel. What we feel determines what we do. So it's so important, and I would hope you'd really hear this, as painful as things are, if you're continually focusing on the pain, then that will be all you feel. So of course there's an appropriate time of grieving, but after that time of grieving, you have to catch your thoughts, because your thoughts will determine if this is a stumbling block or is it a stepping stone. And the goal, of course, is to have it be a stepping stone. So after that appropriate time of grief, then you look at, what can I do? What can I control? And as you start to formulate that, hope starts to be born. And as that hope starts to grow and develop within you, all these amazing options will manifest themselves in your life.
Yes. Oh my gosh, those are powerful words. I love that, James. Stumbling block or stepping stone.
Yes.
Because the power of our thoughts is so huge, isn't it?
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Everything.
Whatever we think about, we become, whether we realize it or not. Every thought we have determines who we are. So if a person continually says, I'm always a failure, I always do this wrong. Well, if you look at their life, probably it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So whatever you say about yourself is really life or death, essentially. Are you working towards your goals? Or are you working against your goals? Yeah. So always be mindful of what you say, because what you think, what you say becomes your reality.
Thank you. Thank you. I am just so thrilled to have you here today. And
Well, thank you.
if you'd like to share with everyone once more how they can connect with your show, and I am so excited for your upcoming TV.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored.
Oh,
Well, thank you. Yes, Paula, I appreciate you allowing me to be the first guest on your show. I've been completely honored and humbled by that. If your viewers would like to watch my show or listen to my show, just simply go to jamesmillerlifeology.com and they can see where all the broadcasting platforms I'm on. I'm on pretty much anywhere, anything you can think of. Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, multiple AM, FM radio stations as well. So once again, go to jamesmillerlifeology.com and you can see all those platforms there.
oh, James, thank you so much. And my gosh, you change lives. You do so much for so many people with your words and what you're doing. I'm really grateful. Oh my
Well,
God.
you do as well. So we're on the same team there.
We are. We're a team.
Yeah.
Everyone out there, thank you for joining us today. Love, hugs, and blessings. James, love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.